Well, a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you. Whenever you settle in to watch this video, this is your instructor, James Shelton, coming to you from the very cold northeast of Atlanta, Gwinnett County, Lawrenceville, Georgia, and it promises to only get colder as the day rolls into the evening. But I'm here today with a video that's going to touch on a couple of things, but uh, most importantly is going to be this big assignment that you have due at the end of the course. And this is the parable recreation. I'm going to say more about that as we go through the weeks of the course. But I did want to go ahead right now and touch on this as well as some of the other instructions for the assignments that you'll have coming up as we move through the material. For Jesus, the focus of Scripture. So I'm going to click here on this parable recreation instructions. If you need them, you can certainly do that as well on Canvas. But I'm going to take a look at this. And remember, I think I told you these are some of the most important files that you will have. There are a couple, but I want to talk to you right now about this assignment. And the first thing I want to do is tell you what it's not. Um, it is not an opportunity for you or for me to find something cool on the internet that someone else has done and submit it as your own work. And that won't work for either one of us. So just to kind of go ahead and get that out of the way. But let me just start at the beginning. Each of you has been asked to choose a parable from one of the Gospels in the first and second week of the class. You have until the end of next week. Parables are some of the most dynamic and memorable teachings of Jesus that have been passed down to us. Examples of some of Jesus's parables: the parable of the prodigal son in Luke 15. We also have the parable of the Good Samaritan, also in the Gospel of Luke. Jesus told several parables. These are stories that C.H. Dodd said that parables are stories that tease the mind into active thought. And so you are to submit to me the parable that you would like to do this assignment on. And remember, a week from this coming Sunday is the deadline for that. So if you have any questions about what parables are, please let me know. You're going to be hearing about parables as you go through the course material throughout from the voiced over PowerPoints for each week as well. So on the assigned date in week 7, each student, you'll do one of two things. You will either upload your video to YouTube and submit the link to me to that video, or if you choose to go the route of a PowerPoint presentation, which is boring, but you can make it exciting to the professor. You can send me that via the assignment link. All right, you just submit it as you would a paper. Two things that, whether you choose to do a video or a PowerPoint presentation, both of these need to include both a creative retelling of the parable and your reflections on its meaning and significance to both Jesus's original audience, the early Christians, and then our contemporary context. We have supplied you here in this PDF a link to show you how to upload your videos to YouTube if you're unfamiliar with that process. You'll need to make the video public or unlisted, but don't make it private because if you make it private, then I will not be able to see it, and neither will your classmates. All right. So down at number 3, it must be an original retelling, not a summary. Okay. Not the creative work of another, as I said. A creative retelling should update the parable for a modern audience in ways that communicate the point of the parable, number 1, and number 2, do this in such a way that a more contemporary audience would understand it and relate to it. Let me give you an example. The most applied one is the Good Samaritan. Well, that word Samaritan really had a certain flavor in the first century, and it wasn't a good one. To the hearers when Jesus told this parable. They were not looked upon kindly at all. Okay, and so it was shocking to them. Whereas if you say Samaritan today, here in the buckle of the Bible Belt, uh, in the United States, that's not really going to have the same ring. So one of the things that if you when you do this retelling, you're going to have to try to see, one of the questions you'll have to ask yourself is, okay, well, who today are the Samaritans in our world to us? Who would we look at and go, hmm? And then you would tell the story, you would retell it, you would update it, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to end up doing it for you, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for here. Is you need to update it because some of the language is I don't want to say it's trapped in its culture, but it is essential for Jesus's original audience, but it loses some of its power on our audiences today. But a good question to ask is, who are the Samaritans in our world? And that should get you off to a good start if you choose to do that parable. Okay? All right. So, two things. Again, communicate the point of the parable and do this in such a way that a more contemporary audience would understand it and relate to it. And again, you can either do a video or a PowerPoint presentation. Now, the videos need to be 6 to 8 minutes long. PowerPoint presentations need to contain at least 10 slides. Okay? And here's what it needs to contain: the meaning of the parable, its personal impact, and its impact on our understanding of Jesus, both from first century viewers as well as contemporary ones. All right, that's how it must end. In addition to recreating your own parable, you need to view at least, it says four, but if you have time to view as many as you can, but view at least two or three of your classmates' parables because you're going to need to do that in order to participate in the final discussion forum of the semester. And I won't tell you anything about that until then. All right. And then we're going to grade you on your creativity and your thoughtfulness. Is it obvious that you spent quality time with this, or did you just throw it together? And then, of course, the format. Have you done what we've asked you to do? Is it easy to understand and follow? And finally, be creative. Have fun with this stuff. Okay. So I will be glad to discuss this with you via email, Canvas message, to help you if they're still unclear. Do not hesitate to reach out to me on any of these things. Okay. Now I want to go back and take a look at one more thing with you guys, and you have a journal entry, your first one that is due um, by this coming Sunday. And so what I've got here is that very important PDF that I mentioned in Getting Started Week. The very important PDF, which details the instructions for these assignments and is not, there it comes. All right. So your first one is due this week. And what we're asking you to do at the outset of this course is write a paper summarizing what you believe is the essence of Jesus' mission in the Gospels. Draw from your prior knowledge of the text and your own experiences, but make sure that your thoughts are well reasoned and consider the evidence of the New Testament. When appropriate, mention specific texts in the Bible that support your assessment. All right. There's not right or wrong. This is, where are you at the beginning of this course? What is it you believe is the essence of Jesus' mission in the Gospels? And this essay should be at least 500 words in length. And then we'll be looking at your grammar and how well you articulate what you're writing. So that's your first written paper. All right. Your second written paper is the Luke summary, which will be due in week 4. And now you should have already started. If you haven't, you might want to go ahead. Luke is verbose. Luke has long, beautiful chapters. After reading the entire Gospel of Luke, it's 24 chapters. Write a response paper which briefly summarizes the main emphases of the Gospel as you understand it. What themes did you see emerge from your readings? And what were you surprised to find out about Jesus? What we don't want you to do in this paper is incorporate from Matthew, from Mark, or John and try to harmonize anything in Luke's gospel. Let Luke be Luke, stand on his own, present the gospel according to his way of writing and thinking about it, and respond to it. Okay, 500 words and the same. And then in week 6, after you have read Philip Yancey's wonderful book, The Jesus I Never Knew, we're asking you again to write a book review of the Yancey textbook. In this book review, we want you to give us a summary of the book, and that lets us know that you've read it and you understand it. And that's about two-thirds of the paper. But then what we want you to do is dialogue with Yancey in the final third and point out strengths and weaknesses. Just because I said it was an excellent book, you may not feel the same, and that's okay. As I tell people at the church where I serve, you have the right to be wrong. And I'm just kidding. No, but we honestly want to hear the strengths and weaknesses of Yancey's observations and arguments. And what this will show us is a demonstration. It's your ability to sort through the material and ask good questions. This paper should be at least 1,000 words. And again, we'll be looking at your grammar and your thought. Keep this piece. I'm not going to worry you with the week 7 second journal entry. It's long. It's 1,500 words. It's the longest thing you'll write. But we'll come back to that a little bit later in the course. Okay, this video is already longer than I wanted it to be, but I hope that it is helpful for you, and I pray God's blessings on you as we begin to go through the course materials. Remember, your first discussion forum response is due by this Friday before your head hits the pillow. That gives your classmates time to engage with you over the weekend. It also gives me time to do the very same. God bless you. Again, praying for you. If you need anything, james.shelton@point.edu, or you can message me here on Canvas, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And have a great week, and I'll see you in the discussion forums and in the assignments. Be well.